So break this down for us, man, because, when this thing first came across the newswire, people were shocked that Bane got traded, and then also shocked at the return. So what did you think about it, man? Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic for KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, and 4 unprotected picks, first-round picks, 1 first-round pick swap. What'd you think about it?
Well, I'm a little surprised that Bane was even available, but I'm also not surprised knowing that it was the Grizzlies and the Magic doing the trade together, where these two teams never leak anything. Anytime they do a deal, it's almost like the details never come out early. It's a surprise what actually ends up happening. Like the Vucevic trade, that was a huge surprise. And just about everything the Grizzlies do doesn't come out. So I'm sure that, when I thought about who the Magic are going to go after, I did not think Bane would be available. But I'm surprised just mostly at the price. I'm curious to know who else was in the bidding for him, that the price got driven up to 4 first. Overall, I like it a little better for the Grizzlies. Usually when these trades happen, I favor the team that gets the picks. I know that, not like I know Knicks fans might not want to hear that. I did a similar trade with Mikal Bridges last year, but anytime a team could get 4 first-round picks for a non-all-star, I feel like you take it.
Yeah, that was the first thing out of Knicks Nation was Mikal Bridges is free. The Mikal Bridges slander can end because now we have Desmond Bane here for 4 first-round picks. But I'm of the thinking, and let me know what you think here, that even with the Bridges trade and now with the Bane trade, are we overvaluing first-round picks given that the first 2, just maybe break down where these picks are, but the first 2 may slide out to be, past lottery, late teens, high 20s type of pick. And then maybe the last 2 is where you think, okay, these could be a bit more valuable just based on where the Magic project to be in the East.
So it just depends on the situation. I think when you look right now at when the Cavs traded for Donovan Mitchell and when the Wolves traded for Rudy Gobert, so far they haven't conveyed any valuable picks. That could change. There's so much parity in the league that like the Grizzlies can tell you firsthand they were going to be like a home court team in the playoffs, and then they slid all the way to 8th in like a matter of weeks. So things can change. The value of picks can increase at any moment. But as far as like these picks, what we know for sure, so they got a pick in this year's draft, 16th, should be a solid pick. The most interesting one that we know about for sure is that pick that they got next year. There's a lot of swaps involved, including with the Suns. So the Grizzlies now have 2 26 picks next year, most likely their own and the Suns one. And that's really interesting because the Grizzlies are taking somewhat of a step back. So maybe they have 2 lottery picks. We could get more into how that's going to work. As far as the 2 later ones, again, like you never know what's going to happen where maybe 2 years from now, the Magic don't really get to where they want to go. The roster starts to get really expensive. Maybe they realize, like my issue with the Magic is you're spending all this money on this top 4, but you still don't really have like a true lead creator. You don't have like a great rim protector. I feel like they really need those things. So now that you're tying up all this money, you're making it a little harder to get those things. So the Grizzlies are maybe betting against that these picks, okay, they're not going to be like lottery picks or anything like that, but maybe they'll be a little more valuable than the Magic are hoping they'll be.
Yeah, indeed, man. And I'm just pulling up the picks now. So as you said, it's a first round draft pick this year, 16th overall, which could be a good player, good role player. 2026, the first round draft pick, which includes swap rights from the Phoenix Suns or the Washington Wizards. And then it's a first round pick in 28. First round pick in 30, and then also swap rights in 29. But let's talk about that 2026 one, because this one, the Knicks could play into this one when you factor in the Washington pick. Can you break that pick down for us?
So first, it's like there's like 4 different swaps going on. And I guess I'll start at the top with the Wizards because the Wizards technically still owe the Knicks a pick, which they traded originally to Houston and eventually got to the Knicks' hands. But it's most likely not going to be a first-round pick if it stays within the top 8, I believe,
Yeah.
which the Wizards probably should be in. Then the Knicks will instead get 2 second-round picks. But when the Wizards did that Bradley Beal trade, one of the things they got was a 26 swap with the Suns. Now, assuming that the standings kind of play out similarly, where both teams could suck, but the Wizards will probably be like amongst the bottom tier, they'll probably stay. So then the Grizzlies also, no, I'm sorry, first the Magic, they got a swap as well on that same pick. 2 years ago, they traded 3 second-round picks to the Magic and in exchange to the Suns, and in exchange, they got this swap. So there's like a priority when you do these, when you trade the same swap over and over again. So first the Wizards have the priority, then the Magic have the priority. So that's what so the Magic traded their 26 pick outright, which has a swap with the Suns, to the Grizzlies. So the way it would play out is, let's say the standings this year play out similarly, where the Suns pick ended up being 10th and the Magic's pick ended up being 16th. Now all of a sudden the Grizzlies can move up from 16 to 10. But there's another element that the Grizzlies, they also have their own first round pick that year, and it also has a swap with the Suns going on. They also did it like the exact same trade with the Suns 2 years ago, 3 second-round picks for another version of that swap. So they're third on that priority. So now they could, potentially swap if let's say the Magic are horrible next year for some reason. Then they have a chance to get like a second lottery pick. But that's more unlikely because the Grizzlies took somewhat of a step back. I don't think that they're going to be like substantially worse than they were last season. They won 48 games. I'm confident that they can figure out the backcourt, put together a deep enough roster where they can win like 45 games. But that's probably still not cutting it for a playoff spot in the West. Because if you have most of the teams returning last year, and then you've got maybe the Spurs, if they end up doing something, they could be in the playoffs. Very good chance the Grizzlies, like, they'll be competitive, but then they're going to be on the outer, they'll be in like the play-in tournament, like a lower lottery team. So now the Grizzlies, they're looking at, okay, we take a step back this year, we save a bunch of money in the long term, and now we have this Suns pick and probably their own pick in the lottery. So the Grizzlies, they're going to have a pick this year. Maybe they could try to move up, but they're going to have, I think, like very good chance, 2 lottery picks next year and more cap flexibility. They can really retool, get some new young players in, and get back into things starting in 26, 27, because just based on how things are going, it doesn't seem like their highest end outcomes was like close to being a championship contender. Obviously, they need John Moran and Jaren Jackson Jr. to be healthy first and foremost. But I think they'll be able to come out of this stronger within a year from now. If you could trust any team, like, yeah, you can make a good case that picks are being overvalued. But if you're going to give a lot of picks to one team, the Grizzlies, one of the best batting averages with draft picks over the past 6 years. So very good chance they're going to hit on some of those and come out of this much stronger than many of us can even see right now.
That's good points there. Once again, we're talking to Yossi Gozlan, home of or creator rather, of the Third Apron newsletter. You can also check him out on YouTube and also follow him on Twitter at Yossi Gozlan. Now, as you just mentioned, 2 guys, some people they're throwing the tinfoil hats on. Is this the beginning of a Memphis teardown and rebuild? First, from a Knicks fan standpoint, now they want Triple J here, man. What would it take to get a Triple J trade done here in New York, just given the salaries and what the Knicks would have to give up, man?
Well, first, they're going to need Jaren Jackson to say, I don't want to be in Memphis anymore. That's number one. And he technically does have some agency because he has 1 year left on his deal. In all likelihood, he's going to stay in Memphis. There's already reporting from ESPN that they're not going to trade John Jaren. Now their next move, the Grizzlies are not done. They need to clear more cap space so they can give Jaren Jackson a viable renegotiation and extension. Most likely that happens. But let's just say he says, you know what, now that I didn't get the Supermax, I'd rather just get traded. And he says the Knicks are one of those teams. I would say the Knicks are at a disadvantage compared to some of the other teams out there that can put out much stronger offers with more picks. But so with that said, I mean, I would suppose at least one of OG Anunoby or Mikal Bridges have to be involved.
Yeah.
You can make a case that, just even with one of those players, you're kind of like getting close to the value. Knicks don't have any other first round picks to trade, though, mostly just a lot of seconds. So you're talking about trading one of those guys, really. Now, Both those players make a little more. Yeah, they both make a little more than Jaren. So the
Yeah,
Knicks,
because
just so
he's
you
he's
guys
looking
know,
at 23 million going into next season.
right. So for all of you, so for those who follow like the Knicks salary cap situation, they're going to be over the first apron, which means they have to do 100% salary match. And Jaren's salary is so low where they could technically just do like Mikhail straight up for Jaren. So is it possible? Sure. I'd say it's pretty improbable though. Uh, just because one, I think he's going to stay with the Grizzlies, going to sign a new long-term deal, but then also the Knicks probably are at a disadvantage in terms of the best offer they can put out there.
Yeah, that's going to be the key here with a lot of these trades for marquee talent, is they just don't have the draft capital for one, and the salary matchups could be a little bit difficult just in terms of the players. If you have to go one for one, dollar for dollar, it may not add up. And so, as you said, a lot of the reports out there right now is that Memphis intends to, at least for now, keep Jaren, keep Ja, and just kind of retool with some of those draft picks. Hey, maybe they jump in another trade utilizing those picks as well.
Yeah,
To
they now have 11 first-round picks through the next day drafts. They can trade up to 8 of them. Not saying they're going to cash them all in on Giannis or anything like that, but they're now like up there with the Nets, the Jazz, the Thunder in terms of most draft picks in the league. So very interesting situation to monitor there.